time.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Familiar with the Matter, the show where I talk to people who know things about stuff. And today my guest is Alejandro Montoya Marin, director of Millennium Bugs, amongst many other things. And Alejandro, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for making time to come over after our troublesome morning.
Oh, no, it's perfectly fine. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule and everything. And thanks to Polly over at Latino Slant for setting this up.
Polly's the bomb.
I was talking to different people about different things that I have no idea about because I'm just an observer rather than a participant. But so I've never talked to a movie director before.
Ooh, hey!
You're breaking my cherry here a little bit. As far as I know, I mean, if somebody else on like the Midnight's Edge panel is technically a director, but do you feel like you're a director? Is that like a title that you've grown into, or do you still think you're still on your way?
You know, that's a great question. No, I wouldn't call myself I didn't call myself a filmmaker till like 6-7 years in, because I mean, maybe it's because I take myself too seriously, or I care about the craft or the profession so much. But I mean, I feel that if other people say, "Oh, go make something on YouTube real quick," I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I've done that too." But no, I didn't until I started to actually make a living.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, well, I'm a filmmaker, you know, like.
Yeah, you didn't think you were legitimate until you had an actual paycheck from it. You couldn't really call yourself.
But I mean, like I said, it doesn't mean that people shouldn't call themselves a filmmakers, because I had a day job for many years. For the past 5, it was 5 years ago where I was like legitimately just a full-time film. But I understand the going to the other job, and then on your weekends and vacation times, you use that to polish the craft, to go to film festivals, to promote, shoot anything you can. So no, hey, when anyone feels ready to call themselves a filmmaker, do it. I didn't. It took me like 5 years, 6 years, something.
Well, but I'm assuming then that getting into doing films didn't just occur to you. This is something that's been going on for quite a while now. Now I like so many people. I'm a movie nut. I know way too much about movies. I worked at a video store in my youth, which kind of relates to some things I'll be asking about Millennium Bugs later. But when did you think, or did you realize that you wanted to be more than just a consumer, but a creator of film?
I stumbled on making my first movie because I needed to pass art class in the 7th grade. Mm-hmm. I have already loved film. So I did a theater play of Braveheart in Mexico. Bunch of Mexican kids wearing kilts and shit. It was awesome. And the whole school lost their mind, man. Everyone was like, applauding, and they were having a great time. And then the next year I failed again, and my teacher was like, well, you can't do a play. And my dad had this Sony camera, which I wasn't allowed to touch. Like, it was expensive. My dad would always, like I would fucking stumble and throw it or something, accidentally fall. And it was a camera that you would put the tape, and then you would move the lens like this. But this is the lens. Sorry, this is the body. This was the lens. So you move it. And I went out and did a Star Wars movie with my friends. No CGI.
Nice.
We edited from the mini DV to the VHS to my stereo to the TV, dog. RCAs and shit.
This daisy chain.
100%. And we had, for the credits, we didn't have any, we wrote it in like paper, and we were rolling it up. So
there you go. Old time.
Just bring the stereo all the time so we can film it with music. And that's how I did my first movie. And I remember I loved the whole thing. The figuring it out. No, they're not gonna tell us no. We're gonna shoot it. I'm gonna edit it, and it's gotta feel great. And then from there, and I just started taking it more seriously the more and more I deviated from it. I also studied marketing, and it sounds so dramatic, but I remember I wasn't doing that great in school, especially like accounting and costs, like that subject.
Sure, I hate math. I'm an English major, so math is my bane.
It's the worst. And I remember I owned a video store.
Oh, wow.
called Quick Stop Video in Mexico.
Oh, nice.
And I was going to college, had a video store, and had a day job. So technically, I was trying to pack shit so I wouldn't have to study because I hated that class. And in one class, I got up and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I hate doing this. I hate coming and needing to learn something that I don't give a fuck about.
Yeah.
And I just left. And
But of course
then I went to go study film.
Well, of course, that had to come in somewhat useful later, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
Because
marketing did help a little bit, yeah, but it's helped.
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, more so than many other careers, being an independent filmmaker, I would think, requires you to wear so many hats outside of just quote unquote writing and directing, fundraising, marketing, distribution, and the like. What part of the process were you the least familiar with when you really started, and how would you rate your effectiveness at it today?
Oh, that's a great question. This is the best. Editing. I hated it. I'm ESL, and I know that a lot of the problems that are out there in the world is because of miscommunication. We don't have the patience. We want to be quick, and when people say a word, we immediately interpret it a certain way. It's a whole problem. So I would always push away from editing because I didn't want to look like an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Sorry. And I didn't want to look like an idiot, but I didn't have the patience. So now I love it. And it's because I was able to confront my fear.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to, in a way, say to myself, you're not going to learn it in 2 days, dude. Get comfortable. You know what I'm saying? So I was forcing myself to be patient. And now I like it. So I guess trying different things.
Yeah, it's difficult not to try to judge your beginning by somebody else's end, because you're like, oh, well, why can't I do it like this guy does it already? Or I should get it already. And knowing that you have to earn your way to that point is hard because we're so impatient. We want that instant gratification. And if it's difficult at the beginning, we throw our hands up and like, I can't do this.
Oh, dude,
you have to earn it.
Yes. And I feel like I was like that younger. I'm not saying necessarily that all the younger generations are like that. If anything, that demonstrated the younger generations are a little bit more mature than us. And they do, some of them, not everyone, but I've had great conversations with kids that are like fucking 20. And I go, Jesus Christ, you're thinking like that? That's very mature of you. God damn. And that's, as long as we continue that pattern of learning and making better, like it's always going to help us. It's always going to be good.
Yeah, there's the finite goals in life and then the infinite goals in life, and the infinite goals are those of constant self-improvement and
longer
run things. Now,
great questions, by the way.
Oh well, I watch a lot of Hot Ones. I get my inspiration.
Great show.
So I did a little research. Now I will confess I've only watched your one movie. I haven't seen your entire au revoir or over, what do they call it?
Soon I'll have a new one.
Yeah, soon. But I did a little research. I noticed something, and I was struggling with how to frame this question. I talked to like my sister and my best friend, because I was kind of like, I want to ask something about this, but not quite sure. I don't want to come across like I'm being picky or something. So let me try this out on you. Tell me if I did right or wrong. So I've ended up being a constant guest over on Midnight's Edge and talking about movies and stuff all the time and everything. And one of the things you often hear about are the difficulties and the battles between filmmakers and studio executives for creative control over projects. I noticed that nearly everything you have written thus far, you have likewise directed yourself. Now, is that primarily the result of the necessities of being an independent filmmaker, or is it more from a need for you to preserve and protect the integrity of your vision?
That's a great question. I think it's a little bit of both.
I
think that I've worked in the system. I've sold a script a couple of years ago. I was going to direct a movie that I didn't write. And just the same way when I was PAing in Albuquerque after film school, some producers talk to you in a fucking such a rude way. You know that, those kids that haven't gotten slapped around in the playground and gotten into a fight, or that they talk a certain way. Where like, you need someone to slap you back, homie, like that, like rude, condescending. And I got up, I turned off the air conditioner, and on set, 2 seconds after he called it, or something ridiculous like that. And the producer came up to me and was like, you know what, fuck this, I don't need this. And part of it, I guess, is rebellion, but also part of it is because, I ultimately want to be doing something that makes me feel like it was worth it and that fulfills me in an all capacity form of me doing what I like to do and making film. I, of course, have movies that I pitched them, like, I don't know, man. Like, I pitched Millennium Bugs, and one of the main reviews that I got were like, "Oh, we hated that they didn't end up together." And I go, "That's not what the movie was about. It's about friendship and having friends from polar opposites being together, and what the other one lacks, the other one has, and vice versa." Or I pitched scripts where the girl didn't end up with the guy at the end, and that we're all like, "Well, we don't like that. The audience is not gonna like that." And I go, the movie's about the girl finding herself, and she learns to not need a guy. I wrote this shit. A Mexican man wrote this 10 years ago. And I remember going, I thought this is great because it shows her. It's kind of like Fleabag, but a girl that realizes pop culture has lied to her, so she's created expectations. So she cuts pop culture cold turkey. It was a very fun movie, and I think I'm just going on a tangent now. I think to come back to your answer is, I think it's a little bit of both. I do want to do stuff with bigger studios, and that's always going to be a problem. That's always going to be not a problem, but like a thing that you're going to have in the back of your head, where it's how much do you give and take. Right. And I try to be upfront with people. I don't try to play any games right off the front. Right off the bat, I just go like, look, this, I like this. Some people choose to prolong that, and I just don't like that, by playing games no, maybe right now, and then the moment of when you're pressured, maybe you should do this in front of people. Like, I think it's just doing the best job you can at the time, man. So right now, my job and my focus is to make movies that I would like to see in the movies, and I consider myself very thankful because I get to pay the bills by writing stories for movies.
Do you think you'd be comfortable handing something you've written over to somebody else and then have them make changes in the course of the production?
Am I directing it?
No, you're handing it to somebody else.
I just give them away. Yeah. I mean, I sold a script. I've written 2 scripts. I've sold one that I loved, and I think they took some of it and reworded, and I was like, but I think at the beginning of the project or the process, you start making your mind like, hey, don't get don't fall in love too much with this. But that's always usually what you do with any movie. You have to kind of adapt as time goes by.
Oh, sure. I mean, occasionally you have to kill your darlings just because, you might love something, but it doesn't fit or there's not enough time. Now I have seen a couple instances where you've directed someone else's work. How was that experience, and how much input did you seek or were given from the writer in the course of things, and how much did you reinterpret things yourself, do you think?
I think there's a really good balance on it, because they want to bring you on because they can. I think I can think of my style, if I have a style, is more bombastic and more quick and more try to engage. That maybe sometimes that clashed with certain things. So I think communication is pivotal. At the beginning of the process, you talk to the writer. Once you figure out that tone, You're great, but no, I wrote. I didn't write Chicken. I directed a short film called Chicken with Matt Walsh, and that was great because they would allow me. They would put some perimeters, like, hey, well, we can't do this. We're gonna do this, and I'm from there. I'm just like, okay, what do I do? How do I make this better? Okay, that shot, boom. So I'm very visual, and I love how Matt Walsh, when he comes over, he's like, hey man, I want to pitch you an idea. I always close my eyes, and he always goes, "Oh yeah, I forget. You're thinking of the shot." 'Cause I'm trying to not make it look like I'm just taking it in, understanding what he's saying, translating it from Spanish, and then like having like my images. Yeah, that works.
Oh, do you think in Spanish?
Yeah, so both sometimes now, man. I've lived in both countries. I'm Mexico. I'm Mexican American, dude. I'm also I guess I'm North American. I lived in Canada, but I've lived in all three countries. God damn it, we're so similar. We're so dumb to not acknowledge it.
I have a lot of friends who are polyglots, and I always ask them, like, do you think in this language? Do you think in that language? And sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other.
A mishmash. Like there's stuff that I think in both ways. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was growing up, it's not so much it doesn't feel like it these days, but the director of a film always seemed like the star of the movie. Like you said, this is a Steven Spielberg film, or a Robert Zemeckis film or something. And it wasn't until later on I kind of realized, well, if you have the name and the leverage to be able to dictate terms and projects and so on, great. But most times I had to be sort of remind myself, a director is just an employee at the end of the day. Unless they're self-financing, producing, and everything else, there's someone who was hired on to do the job. They don't actually have all the control, which is kind of a mindset I had to move away from. When you were growing up, did you see directors as the stars of the show, or did you understand they were just a part of the process?
I think I saw them as the stars of the show because that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to ever start being an actor. Like I feel the actors think that's the star, and some people think that's the star. If you want to, because technically the producer is the one in charge. They're the head.
Sure.
And the producer is supposed to trust the director in navigating the project, the shots, and everything to fit that precise line that they said they were going to accomplish.
Right. Especially within the budget.
Exactly, and which is always hard. Look, man, I've worked with cool producers and I've worked with crappy producers, and like I've been lucky to work with recently, and Millennium Bugs, I worked with great producers. Like I've gotten lucky. You surround yourself with people that you trust and people that you like their work ethic, and that that are not just talkers, and that they get the job done. Because sometimes when you start blending friendship and work, things can get nebulous, and you can pull and push and whatever. But at the end of the day, I've had to like push away from certain friends, and I go, hey dude, I'm still your friend. I can't work with you.
Yeah, that's something that seems to be. Sorry, go ahead.
No.
Oh, I was going to say that's something I've talked about on my channel a lot of time. Is the push for the death of professional distance? Is that when you start making the workplace a family space, I think you add more complications than you do solve them at the end of the day, because there's a line of pragmatism that comes down to getting the job done versus making everybody feel kumbaya all the time. That really has to take precedence, especially when you're on a budget, especially when you've got people you answer to. And
and that took a while, because that definitely, I mean, yes, that's a
it seems cold-hearted. It seems cold-hearted, but
you could use it to an advantage to become a better leader.
Sure, within boundaries. It's all about moderation. It's not like going so far that you get so chummy with somebody that if you have to let them go, suddenly you're kicking out everybody's best friend, and then you've got a whole
the
morale
movie's
issue.
my priority. Yeah, the movie's my
Right.
priority. I there you will I don't have a problem with that. But yes, when I was younger, I was more like that. I wanted everyone to be happy and to talk about how much fun it was to film with Alejandro Montoya, and And sometimes I was worried about that shit more than I was worried about the movie. And
Right.
and it took me a while to be like, hey, homie, this is ego. Just get that shit off. They don't have to be your
Right.
friends. Once the clock, and there it goes.
Yeah. The focus is the project first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of projects, so Millennium Bugs, by the way, guys, there's a link to the Tubi presentation, I should say, of Millennium Bugs in the description below if you'd like to go watch the film. So I watched it. So I got a little background here. Just by happenstance, my best friend. Oh, what's that?
The sticker, Millennium Bugs.
Oh, the sticker. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I see now. That particular computer, man, that brought back so many memories seeing that in that movie because I was like, those are all over my school growing up and my junior
They
high.
were such a cool design, man.
Yeah, and completely and totally proprietary, and you couldn't replace anything. And Apple had the market on them because they're evil. But that's all.
Still are.
Still are. So by happenstance, my best friend lives in Mexico City, and nice. I've known her for years, and we watch movies and TV shows via Netflix all the time together and talk about stuff. And she is as well a polyglot. She knows like 5 languages. And so when Italian or French or something comes up on a movie or TV show, I ask her, how's their French? How's their Italian? And then especially when Spanish comes up, we have this inside joke where I'll say, are they speaking Espanol or are they speaking La Espanol? And that means LA Espanol, La Espanol. Because there's different accents and dialects to how Spanish is spoken. So when she was watching Millennium Bugs, there's a lot of things that she noticed.
Oh,
nice. Yeah, no, we watched it together. So she noticed Very a lot cool. of things that were outside of my range because I'm just a dumb gringo. And so one of the things she wanted to ask, I guess, or one of the things she says, and I'm quoting here. This is her quote. She says, "It has the scent," this is her word, scent, of the new era of Mexican cinema or the new Mexican cinema. Were there specifically any Mexican films or creators that inspired your writing and direction for Millennium Bugs?
Ay, pues, it sounds maybe, okay, here's something. I think obviously it's more inspired by Kevin Smith, which, yes, not Mexican.
Sure.
But the music, I will say this. Thanks to a radio station in Mexico City, which your friend will remember, 98.5 Radioactive.
Okay.
Is one of the best radio stations I've ever heard in my life, dude. Because you can tune in at 2 p.m. and they would have Iggy Pop and then Maldita Vecindad. And then at 9, they would have soundtrack nights every Monday. And they would play the full soundtrack of whatever movie came out and talk about the songs, talk about who wrote them, the process. And I think that blended with the movie. Those are the 2 biggest inspirations. It was obviously part of my life and my family living in Mexico. So I'm sure that Eres magazine and Cinemania and XHGC, which is a radio TV station in Mexico, a bunch of a soup of pop culture inspired the movie.
Yeah, because when I watched it, I thought of a couple of. It reminded me of a couple of things that I watched in the past, like Go, and a little bit of Can't Hardly Wait, and this might be a bit out there, but I almost caught a scent of Spun in there a little bit. Have you ever seen Spun?
Whoa, yes, great, good memory, man.
Yeah, because I was watching some of the transitions, some of the way that the story proceeded, and obviously not the same subject matter. Because Spun is it's a bit more of a comedic version of what am I thinking of? That really depressing movie. Oh, Requiem for a Dream. Like if Requiem for a Dream were a comedy, that's what Spun was, sort of.
Yeah.
But it seemed a little bit like that. So I thought maybe there were some inspirations from that realm of kind of film.
Definitely the 90s. Yeah, definitely the 90s. Also I was doing it to trying not to be. I didn't want it to be like a sitcom where it's too cartoonish. Like, you know, when movies start trying too hard for it to be the 90s. Like, I really tried to toe back on that and have the lighting and the look. Like, the lenses were all wide lenses, and we shot a lot of we embrace dark to kind of go with the grunge aesthetic of music
Mm-hmm.
and alternative rock, and we were very subtle with the filter that we added for it to have like a the blacks a little bit. So no, we tried to show as much love as possible. So I guess to respond to your friend's question, I think again I completely deviate.
That's okay.
I'm sure a lot of pop culture from Mexico inspired, especially VJs like Olayo Rubio and Rulo and all those people from radio stations in Mexico and going to La Cineteca with family. Yeah, I guess.
And just for people's reference, sorry, I should probably just say this at the time. Millennium Bugs takes place just at the turn from 1999 into 2000, and deals with the story of friends Kelly and Miguel as they're sort of having their independent, unique coming of age moments as everything's kind of changing in both the world and their lives. And
turning of page.
Turning a page. And something else that again, this is all my friend knows this stuff because she's attached to the culture more so than I am. She kind of asked, and she was musing, and I kind of drew from this how much you drew upon your own family dynamic to inform the relationship between Miguel and his parents, because my friend said there was a trend in the 80s and the 90s for Mexicans to encourage their children away from Spanish particularly and more towards being more Americanized. Did that play any part of your writing of the character?
It's like a 3-part question.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I'm
no,
late. I'm an onion. What can I tell you?
Hey. It's yes. We weren't like that.
Mm.
My dad prohibited us to speak English in the house.
Oh, okay.
When I lived in Texas, they were like, "Hey, English is in the house and in school. Here, Spanish."
All right.
Yeah, and these characters, I didn't put that in there, but I was able to try to have them speak certain Spanish and English, and they all kind of understood each other. Because sometimes when the parents come from, let's say, from another country, ex-day Mexico, it takes them a long while for them to get comfortable to speaking. And when it's something like that just needs a response immediately, they just go into their
original programming.
Exactly. Yeah. So I definitely drew from that because my dad and my mom are very different. My dad will speak English and try and not give a fuck how he sounds. And you can carry a conversation with him and he understands. My mom is so shy of what you're going to think of her butchering a subject that she'll just remain quiet. It's different worlds, but I did draw from my family, from my parents. I also had a younger sister. Definitely drew a bunch from that because I know that just like me, there's a bunch of first generation kids that maybe thought of doing something outside of the realm of the family circle, and that could have caused problems. Maybe it didn't. And it was hopefully trying to relate to as many people, because Kelly definitely, that was just, I wrote that character to kind of like slowly, you know how in the 90s always like, oh, the alternative rock girl was the one that everyone was wanting. And
yes.
So you get to that, and then from there you start layering of why she's like that. And I like that.
She also noticed, again, back to the whole Espanol thing, that, and this might be a really deep cut. So you tell me if because we were both.
I'm loving these questions, dude. Thank you.
Well, so she noticed that the accents of the parents in the film were from her ear, and again, this is her ear. They were native Mexican.
Yeah.
And Miguel's accent was more La Espanol Americanized, and for her, it added that sort of subtle layer of verisimilitude to the cultural and family conflicts with the parents coming from one culture and Miguel sort of growing up in a different culture. So it's specifically with the or the accents, I should say. Was that intentional in your casting and direction, or is it just a happy accident?
it was my intention, but it's also later a happy accident because
Okay.
Rogelio Ramos, who plays the dad, is just fucking fantastic in it. And he's, a native. Well, he was born in Laredo, Texas, but Laredo, Texas is right smack on the border of Mexico. It's practically Mexico.
Right.
And I forgot where Naomi Peniche is. Romy Peniche. I think she's from Guadalajara, Veracruz. I don't remember. But this is why the Emilia Paris conversation should extend. Right?
Oh, geez. Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
And I won't get into it because there are far smarter people talking about it. But look how refined the ear of your friend who knows 5 languages, mind you. Immediately like, hey, that's native. That's not. Oh, I could see that. And by doing a little bit more of work, you can do those things. And sometimes people will pick up on it and sometimes not. And then once projects get into the $100 million, you're going to need to, you can only put these 10 actors that have made billions.
Right.
You figure out ways, man, or I don't know, dude. Like I've done several movies and it can't just be that all they're looking for is like, you need to have someone famous. It's like, well, then what's the story, man? Then go buy a magazine and just stare at that fucking actor then. Get the story. Like, I just checked out a movie from Argentina called Wild Stories. Have you seen that?
I have not, no.
Go watch that movie. Go in clean. Kind of like I went. They told me, a friend of mine was like, dude, you got to go watch this movie. And I asked immediately, who's in it? Just go. He went, just go watch it. And I said, okay.
Well, I've always thought, I've always been a bit of a snob. I always thought, if a movie can't carry itself without a named actor, it's probably not a very good movie.
Exactly.
And that's and just as a side thing, they just recently announced or leaked a rumor or something that they're going to make a new Star Wars movie with Ryan Gosling. And I'm like, I remember a time when Star Wars alone could carry a film and you didn't need to have some big name in there to make it exciting for people.
People need to cast, like, okay, here's the problem. I think Ryan Gosling is pretty fucking, he's a great actor. He's got a great look.
With the right direction, he can be a great actor.
That's where I was getting. I mean, homie, I cannot bite or eat and digest and okay. Ryan Gosling, as handsome as he is, struggling to get the girl. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean?
This is always the thing that I noticed this in particular with like Christoph Waltz. Okay, so it's Christoph Waltz, amazing actor, amazing villain in Inglourious Bastards. But you don't just hire Christoph Waltz and get a villain. You have to write a good villain. You have to direct a good villain. He shows up in The Green Hornet, and he's just there because they hired him to be a villain, and he does what he does. And the thing with Ryan Gosling, or any actor, is Ryan Gosling is a block of wood. He really is. If you don't give him any direction, he just sits there. He kind of looks out the camera. He looks all flat and everything, and just nothing. But then you put him into Drive. You put him into A Place Beyond the Pines. You give him a good story, good character, and good direction. Place Beyond the
Pines rocks, man.
Yeah, it's a great film. I mean, Ben Foster, one of the most underrated actors, Ben Foster, man. Anything he's in, he's practically comedian. I could go on forever about movies, as I might.
Hey, me too.
But speaking of which, I wanted to bring something up. So the fact that you ran a video store, this makes the little bit that I caught. So I worked at a video store for the 4 years or something prior to my going to college back in the late 90s. So right around this time. And tell me if I'm just being too much of a nitpicker here or something, or just a nut. But at the very beginning of the film, without spoilers to everybody,
I think I might know what you're gonna say.
Okay, so Kelly's in the video store and she's looking for something, and she pulls out this DVD that she's hidden something in, and Miguel says, "Lost in Space, we got plenty of those." And I was like, so did we, because they had a bulk deal on them back when they were selling the DVDs to the rental places back in the day before they went to street, and we had way too many copies of Lost in Space. I was like, this feels like I'm right there. Wait, is that just too much?
No, dude, you are the first person since 2019 that figured that one out. Well, it's not even figured that one out. Like, I used to go to Blockbuster every week, and I remember when when you were trying to get people to rent the movies, the Blockbuster, whatever, would have the most available amount of copies. And
Yes.
I remember Lost in Space. Fucking, I hated that movie. I hated it.
But they had tons of copies.
So many. And then, but
Yeah.
then I don't know if you remember, or I don't know how it was. I was in Mexico by then. But in Mexico, yeah, a bunch of copies, and then maybe a week or two, a bunch of them for sale.
Oh yeah. So here's the thing. So I worked at a mom and pop video store. We were not a chain or anything. There was a Blockbuster about maybe 6 blocks away. My video store carried tapes and laser discs before DVDs even came out, and we were the first store in the state to carry DVDs, and that's when they were only in jewel cases like IMAX nature movies. So we had DVDs before everybody else. Blockbuster took forever to adopt DVDs because at the time it wasn't certain that format was going to take off. And there was this battle between whether this is going to be DVD or DivX, because the studios liked DivX because there was a lot more piracy controls, and DVD was still uncertain at that time.
DivX.
Yeah, I know. DivX was a thing that lasted for about 10 minutes and went away because it was so... now we basically... Bye Birdie, yeah. Except that now we kind of have... With streaming, you have DivX without the console and the discs. But yeah, so when Lost in Space came out, it was early days of DVD when interactive menus and all these other special features and things were kind of a novelty. And so of all the DVDs they put out, they had some kind of like special bulk deal from the studio for the rental places to get Lost in Space. And of course, my store bought as many as we could, which in relative terms was a lot of copies. But of course, Blockbuster could afford to buy them in cratefuls, rent them out for a week, and then sell them off for $5 a copy because they operated at a loss for so long. That's what eventually killed my the business that I worked at, because we just couldn't compete with Blockbuster eventually once they adopted DVD. But anyway, that's all deep cut.
That was
stuff.
a really
good
catch, man. That's
I like that one line, and I was like, I know exactly what that was like. We had way too many copies of that too. Anyway, but yeah, there's a whole lot of little things in there that I noticed. Besides the iMac, obviously, you know, when you're making an independent film, you can't license real products a lot of the time, or like show off their logos and such. So if there's others that I've missed here in references to other movies and things, let me know. But Eastwood cigarettes, like Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, Eastwood.
Okay.
What else did we add in this one?
Now that's a made up product. I'm not like missing something like some local thing or something, right?
No, but we got permission from Zima.
Right. Okay.
I forgot what company owns it now, but like in the first movie in Monday, I have a movie named Monday. We were part of Robert Rodriguez's Rebel Without a Crew show.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Well, the cool thing was that we were able to raid his prop house. So there's a bunch of stuff from Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction and Desperado in my movie, like Chango beer, the beer that they drink at the beginning, that's riddled in the movie. Like everyone drinks Chango beer.
For everybody listening, so Alejandro was part of a sort of a reality show called Rebel Without a Crew, which was Robert Rodriguez taking all these filmmakers and saying, okay, you guys get the exact same limitations I had when I made El Mariachi. $7,000 and 2 weeks or whatever and no crew, and go out there and make your film. And so Monday was the result of that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And how was
find that on iTunes?
Now, how starstruck were you being around Robert Rodriguez the first time?
Hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like, this was the guy.
Were you like intimidated beyond being able to like communicate directly or anything like that?
No, but obviously you're trying to sound somewhat not like a loser when you're talking to one of your idols. Yeah. But no, I got nervous because he got in the show. It's actually in the show. In one of the episodes, he comes to my set and I didn't know who it was, and they were behind my shot, and I was just like, get out of my fucking shot. I was just telling someone it was Robert. And then he came over and he was like right here looking at my shot, and I was like, fucking stop being right next to me, dude. Like it was so pressure. But he knew what I was doing. Like it was cool because if I have to work, excuse me, and I leave. I don't care if it was Robert Rodriguez, Salma Hayek, Keira Knightley, whatever. Like, it's excuse me, I gotta go get this job done.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty cool. Like, yeah, I got nervous and I was able to talk, but at the by the end of the process, you kind of forget that you're not so starstruck anymore because it's
Mm-hmm.
over and it happens. But you can't you can't expect these people to always be on because you're on. So that's given me. I've worked with other people on other sets and I've seen how they work, and you start kind of like catching their drift, man. You know, they're also
Mm-hmm.
people. They come from super stressful environments and they want to relax, and they don't need anyone every 5 minutes going, "Hey, man," every 2 minutes, "Hey, let me tell you what I think about your movie." It's like, hey, just chill the fuck out.
Yeah, there's always a danger in meeting your heroes, but also overwhelming them too. I
Yes.
I came I without doxing myself, I had the occasion one time of meeting a couple of my heroes, one of which had won an Academy Award for script writing at one point,
Nice.
and my sister, who is, for lack of a better phrase, and not literally so, but just as far as being more sociable, she's much more of a star fucker than I am. And so when I was like, hey, that's who that is over there. Oh my gosh! And she's like, well, why don't you go say hi to him? Like, oh, I don't want to bug him and everything, and I don't want to get in his face or like, make him feel uncomfortable. So I was like, no, let's just. And she like takes my hand and drags. I'm like, she drags me over to him and like, hey, we just want to let you know I really like your stuff and everything else. And he's really nervous about saying that he likes your stuff. And it's like, oh my. And the guy said, oh, I hate it when people tell me they love my stuff. It's just like, oh, I'm sorry, because I still have that. Like even with like internet people that I've watched their channels before, and suddenly I'm on their show or I'm on a stream with them or something, I get all nervous or something because it's still such an alien experience to me. I grew up with the separation between myself and celebrities being through the TV screen. Like
Mm-hmm.
I never, like I always bring up this. I don't know why I keep bringing up this example. But like I'd always watch Unsolved Mysteries, and I think to myself, I'm never going to meet Robert Stack.
Scary.
I know, but then these days, like in the course of things, I watch series on YouTube that are as good or better than Unsolved Mysteries, and now I've either interviewed or become friends with the very creators that I'm watching on a screen. And maybe it's just my age and being in a time before the internet and being after the internet, so to speak, that it feels so alien to be able to have this connection directly with people that seemingly before lived on Olympus by comparison to where I was.
Yeah.
Do you ever have, I mean, Robert Rodriguez or any other actors you've met or worked with or otherwise, when you're, what's the question I'm trying to ask here? Okay, how about this?
Mm-hmm.
If you had to direct your favorite actor, okay, so whoever it is, and you can tell me in a second, but if you had to direct your favorite actor you respected beyond anybody else, do you think you could gather up the spine to direct them and not let them direct you?
Yes.
At this point in your career, I mean, obviously you're still learning, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think so. I would I would be very upfront. I think I had a little issue like that in a couple of other projects where you just you have to put your foot down at certain times, and like I said, I mean, I grew up in 3 different countries. I've got into many fights. I'm not afraid. I don't come from connections in my family in the film industry, so
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten used to when I have to say something, I have to say it, or else everyone check and they leave, and then you're the one like going back thinking I should have said this, I should have said this, I should have said. So no, no, no. I think that as a director, in time you start realizing that ego plays a lot in a bunch of sets, actors, directors, and the whole production and the whole process. And
Sure.
my job is to get the best movie made. So you learn how to pick your fights, you learn how to put your foot down, and there's only like a couple of people that I'd be like, okay, like if it was Daniel Day-Lewis, I mean, yeah, I'll put up with him, but because he's fucking genius. But if it was whomever who I'm just like, hey man, you're doing an okay job, I'd be like, no. So that's a great question. I think I could, because I also have the responsibility of the team behind me. So,
Sure. I mean, there's also an expectation. And there's a great story. I think it's true, from Men in Black. Like Tommy Lee Jones was having some argument with the director or something about some deal in some, and he got to be a very diva for a few minutes, and then he took a second, he centered himself, he turned to his assistant and he said, "Did my paycheck clear this week?" And she's like, "Yes." And he looks back to the director and says, "Tell me where to stand." Because you have to remember, like, everybody's coming to these projects. Obviously, they've worked probably their entire lives in some way, shape, or form to get to this point, to have this spot, to have this opportunity. And yet, at the end of the day, you're just one cog in the machine. And it seems like a lot of the drama we hear out of Hollywood is people forgetting that reality of things, is that it's supposed to be a collaborative effort. It's supposed to be a team effort. Sure, there's a leader. Sure, there's a writer, but it all comes together because there's got to be some collaboration. Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry.
No. Whatever you're about to say, go ahead.
I was going to say that I, in my set now, I say to people, look, give me your suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hear some. Not all of them are going to be gold. Not all of them are going to be bad. Don't get hurt if I don't take your advice, but suggest a way, because if you have a good advice, I'll take it. At the end of the day, it says directed by Alejandro Montoya Marin.
Mm-hmm.
But don't be offended if it doesn't fit.
Yeah, I mean, leadership is about authority and initiative, but also setting expectations and making sure that everybody knows that there's a goal. You have a part in achieving that goal. Your part is not irrelevant or anything. I'll listen to anything you have to say, but at the end of the day, whatever I decide, I expect you to go out and achieve. And if everybody has that understanding at the beginning, hopefully people are mature enough to know that, well, at least I'm being given the due respect, but not necessarily I'm being kowtowed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, perfectly said.
So some of the sort of more simplistic questions I had at the beginning, I was trying to get the complicated ones out of the way first so I can sound all fancy.
Great questions, by the way. Thank you.
Who's your favorite actor? Who were you thinking of a minute ago when I asked about that?
I think Daniel Day-Lewis, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh man, what a loss. Ugh.
For real. I mean, up to a point, to a degree, like Harrison Ford, man. Like, it was, when he was firing on all cylinders, you knew every movie he was in, you're like, worth my $20 or whatever.
Yeah, he's one of those actors that I feel like he's good with good direction. If you just kind of say, I hired Harrison Ford, you get kind of a block of wood. That's my default.
Blade Runner 2049, Ryan Reynolds, Harrison Ford.
Oh yeah, boy, that was just a log cabin right there.
Oh no, I love that movie.
I thought I didn't like it as far as the continuation of that story. Now Denis, however you say his last name, Villeneuve, he reminds me of a far more artsy Zack Snyder, in the sense that he's exceedingly visual. Like, his visuals are amazing. Zack Snyder has all of these set piece images that are just perfect for trailers. But when you get down to the nitty gritty of the actual storytelling, it kind of falters. Not in every case, but certainly Blade Runner 2049, certainly Dune. People are really big on Dune. I thought Denis' telling of the story pales in comparison to the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries from back in 2000. But that's a whole other conversation. I'm sure I'm making some enemies saying that.
I think David Lynch's Dune gets a bad rep.
Oh no, the David Lynch's is fun. I think a more faithful telling of the story was the Sci-Fi Channel one. It was far more operatic, a lot more colorful, a lot more. There was a visual separation between the different houses and characters. You could tell who you're looking at when somebody shows up on the screen, and it had a lot more flavor to it. But that's, like I say, I could go on for hours about that one. But okay, so
my
Daniel
favorite
Day-Lewis.
Denis movie is Prisoners.
Prisoners was great. I like Prisoners. Prisoners is good, but that worked because of the power of the acting. I mean, just the setup and the intensity between the characters and they all had the same motivation, but were going after it in completely different ways and very, very dark. And I mean, just amazing cast out of there too, which helped. So if you have good actors, you have good writing, you know, a good actor can take a lame line and make it gold if you have the right setup. And you can have that same line being spoken by somebody else and it just fall completely flat. But Prisoners was a good one. And so likewise, extended from that, this is always a tough one, but I'm going to make it a bit easier. What's your favorite action movie? If you say favorite movie, you go on for days on that, but favorite action movie.
That's tough, man.
I know. It's still tough.
God dang. Like, part of me wants to be the cliche Die Hard.
Uh-huh, sure.
But no, you can't just have one. You can't.
I know, it's impossible.
What if everything but do I have to answer just one?
No, you don't have to answer. I just thought, you know, if there is one that comes to mind, is like the one you watch, the one you watch all the time or have no problem rewatching over and over again.
Yeah. Because every year we watch Die Hard.
On Christmas?
Sometimes, yeah. That's so cliche. But what I do watch, there's always it's not even action, but Alien.
Oh, well, sure.
I watch Alien
sure.
every year. Every I just popped in the Mantle Lab like recently.
Okay, so
I love that movie.
So being an Alien fan, did you see Romulus? What'd you think?
I did. Maybe my expectations were so low because I actually enjoyed it. I saw it on IMAX. I thought the sound and the art direction and the sound was just so sublime. Or not so sublime, just sublime. Because I remember the scene where the girl gets the alien come out and she pushes the steering wheel or the whatever from the rocket ship or whatever, the spaceship. And then that goes to the right and it starts crashing on all that space center, and then it starts entering like the rings of Saturn. Dude, that whole scene, I remember just going, God damn, this is so much fun.
See, the Alien franchise, I thought, has gotten so overplayed and so done wrong in places. It's just like oversaturated. They're trying to resurrect it. And they got this new series coming out on Hulu soon, but I'm still a little like, I don't know that there's anywhere else to go. Is there a, like if you could have your dream franchise, like somebody on high said, Alejandro, you shall be the one to pick up the mantle of this, your favorite franchise, character, whatever, what would that be?
That's a great question because for a long time, I thought it was going to be the Justice League. But I mean, years, dude. Years ago. I think it would be the Doom video game. I would love to make.
Oh man, you know, with boy, when that thing came out with The Rock, I went to the theater to see that. Oh man, it was so bad. Did you see the second one? Oh yeah, the direct-to-video thing. I mean, they tried with. You could see how someone was trying within the boundaries of their budget and everything to try to do something a little different, but it just didn't work.
No,
I could appreciate it for its effort, but it just didn't work.
I would love and there's it's just little things. Like she picks up a humongous gun this way. She's just like, let's go kill them. And I'm like, fucking hang on. Hold on to the weight of the gun.
Right. Yeah. It takes you out of the moment or something if it looks like, okay, so you're lifting up a plastic prop. Thanks for that.
And it was that and the lighting. If you want your set to look more realistic, go darker.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have it be so bright. You could tell, whatever. It's just, if I feel crappy shitting on other filmmakers because I know film isn't easy to make. So I think
everybody criticizes each other. Come on, everybody criticizes everything.
I criticize myself all the time.
Sure, who doesn't?
Doom. I think Doom would be the movie that I would do.
You see, the thing is that if you just go with, would you go with the sort of the thin plot line of the original games, or would you try to make like the new game series plot line work in a film? Like if you were the one writing it, which would you prefer to do?
That's a great question. I would try to do a combination of both because they've tried twice with just a group of SEAL agents go to the space station and hell is there, which is a great plot. But I would take away the group, take one, and then he finds people. I have sound effects, and then in the station one, and then I saw there's a trailer for a new video game, and I think. Does he travel through time or something? I didn't see it all.
It's called like Doom Medieval or Doom Dark Ages or something, and it's like I guess it takes place in the past of their current continuity. I always thought that as a game it wasn't the best, but as a setting, as an aesthetic, and as a storyline, the Doom 3 layout made the most sense because you have that sort of like alien, you're trapped on a space station, you're going through dark hallways, you've got a evil villain in the background who's sort of puppeteering things. I always thought that was sort of like the better cinematic
that's the best
thing. And you can't get rid of the supernatural element. That's the thing I didn't like about the Doom movie, the original one, is that they made it all like sort of like sci-fi mutant genetic experiment things rather than it actually being like, this is you've opened up a gate to hell. It's got to be a gate to hell.
Want to do.
It's not a genetic experiment gone wrong. Come on, guys. That was just silly.
Yeah.
Of course that POV thing was stupid too.
The possibility of so many creatures you could create, man.
I know.
And CGI, dude.
And not having to give so much like exposition about it. It's like they're creatures from hell. You don't have to try to explain where they all came from. They just explain themselves by existing. Anyway. I could go on for a long time about how much I hated that Doom movie, but
please do.
I so wanted it to work too. Like these are the things that I was excited about as a kid, and I was just like Doom sucked, and then I go see Mission Impossible. I was like, yeah, Mission Impossible, that was great. I used to watch that show in the '90s on the TV.
Man, Mission Impossible was bomb.
The first one was great. The second one was meh. The third one, man, Philip Seymour Hoffman took that character that had like 3 pages of dialogue, if that, in the entire film. And he just turned into one of the most menacing, scary things that ever occurred in the franchise. I don't think any villain in Mr. Impossible has ever hit it like Philip Seymour Hoffman did.
No, because you're starting off with him proving that he's not one to fuck with.
Right. You can't. You have no leverage.
You open the movie.
Yeah, he was just like the Joker in The Dark Knight. It's like Batman's beating him up, and it's like, you have nothing on me. You have nothing. You can use nothing against me. And this guy's like, you don't even know what you're looking for. Sorry, guys, for everybody in the chat, I apologize. Going on movies. Like, if you haven't seen Mission Impossible 3, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But, man.
Go watch it.
But yeah, definitely watch it. I think it's, next to the first one, I think it's probably the best of the, well, I mean, the one was a Ghost Protocol. The one where like all of their usual gimmicks failed them. I think that was Ghost Protocol, and they had to like improvise everything. That was pretty good. It got a little old after. I think that's the Brad Bird one. If I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yes,
because J.J. Abrams was the Mission Impossible 3. But yeah. Anyway, sorry. This wasn't meant to be a Mission Impossible stream. I apologize.
Oh no, hey man, I've seen them all live. I've seen them all in the theater. Sorry, live, all in the theater. I'm a fan of the franchise, and I'm excited to see the last one.
All right. Okay. So I'm gonna steal a question from a friend of mine who asked me this the other week. What was, and not just necessarily seeing the film or the film itself, but to this point, what has been your best theater going experience overall, between the film, everything going on around it? anything else that occurred in the process.
In for what movie?
Any movie, like just any time you've gone to the theater, it was just like whether the movie was the best movie ever or not, but like the overall experience of going to the film stands out the most to you.
I have several.
Okay.
Of course. I can't just give you a straight answer. I'm a fucking
No, of course not. No.
But
why make it easy?
Because there's so much live and so much film, and at certain points the movies hit the right spot. Like speaking of, one's right here. The Death Proof double feature.
Death Proof. Okay, Death Proof double feature.
And Planet Terror. Wow, that film, that going to the movie experience for that movie was bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was clapping. We were all having a great time.
Isn't it really about the audience? Like if the audience isn't into it, the movie just doesn't work in a lot of cases.
I think it depends on the movie because, well, no, you're right. But if the audience is quiet in a very engaging and thrilling scene, that's the same as if they're all laughing their ass off in a comedy.
Oh, sure. I mean, if they're engaged.
It's a different vibe. Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with you. So, yes.
Yeah. I mean, if the audience is not necessarily rowdy or something, but as long as they're engaged with the film, that always makes it better. Like, I won't retell the whole story because it would take a long time. My best experience is going to see Phantom Menace back in '99 or whatever. I saw it on opening day. I went there early because I knew people were camping out and everything. I wanted to get a place in line. I show up and there's people there in tents in front of the box office, and I was the 9th guy in line because it wasn't
go to the
that
bathroom?
big. I never asked. Didn't want to know. But I got there like a couple hours early because I thought there was going to be like this huge line. There wasn't. It eventually became huge. But in the interim of waiting there, the seafood shop across the place came over with little $2 bowls of clam chowder to keep us warm while we're standing out in the cold. And then the Hooters restaurant, the girls came out in their outfits, handing out free wings to everybody as this promotional thing. So we had Hooters girls, free wings, chowder. All we're waiting for a Star Wars movie where everybody's hyped to go see this new Star Wars movie.
That's pretty baller.
I know we're all talking Star Wars stuff and being nerding out. Then we go to the movie. Everybody's freaking out. It was overall the best movie experience I ever had.
That's a really good memory. That's dope.
Oh, I know. Hell, for my nerdy college age ass, it was great. It was like I'm skipping school to go see a Star Wars movie, and then all this other stuff happens, and I just feel like, oh my gosh, I'm in heaven. So Paulie keeps hinting in the course of our conversations ahead of this that you have an upcoming project or two that might be in the works. I am not aware of the details of these. Is there anything you can tell us about what you're up to?
Oh man, well, in the last couple of months, like since July, we were in film festivals for my third feature film called The Unexpecteds, and that's the next one that we're gonna premiere this year. It won't be by end of this year, but somewhere in the vicinity of maybe 4 months, something like that. It's an action comedy about 5 friends that bet their life savings on a YouTube scam artist, and now they got to get the money back. So it's only suburban dads like trying to be cool and I could take on this heist, no problem. They're all losers.
Oh man, a YouTube scam. I've never heard of those before.
Oh, dude, they're everywhere.
I know. I'm being.
I feel like
I'm being
it's the
facetious.
perfect time.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, especially with there's so many things going, especially with like AI and all the other stuff going on these days. I'm waiting. Yeah, I mean, it was bad enough. My parents got scammed over the internet a couple of years back with this whole email Amazon fake thing. I can't even imagine what happens when somebody gets a phone call from their grandson that's really in their grandson's voice saying, "I need money to get out of this jail I'm in," and something, and all this other stuff going on.
Holy shit, that's terrible.
I know. Well, if it hasn't already happened, it will eventually happen. It's just a matter of time. Really quick, thank you, Keeverdam, for the donation. Hi, just stopping by. Keeverdam, the den mother of my chat. Also, Keeverdam has provided a link, guys, to the global giving charity for the LA wildfires at the top of the chat box. If you guys can take a look at that. If you're able to donate, please do so. And even if you can't, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you, Kiefer Dam, and thank you for that as well. Let's see. So when does this movie premiere again?
I still don't have a date, but as soon as I do, I will bother you because it's coming. We're figuring out dates and the marketing plan and everything.
Okay. Now, how was the experience filming? Now, did you write this one yourself?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
And how was your experience making this? Like, compared to Millennium Bugs, was there anything you learned in the process? If I'm not mistaken, Millennium Bugs was your first feature, like feature length film. Is that correct?
Yes, because Monday it was 60 minutes. And,
right.
And yeah, so I consider
is 80 minutes still considered a feature? Is that like the lowest end of what a feature is now?
Technically, it's 45.
Technically, it's 45 minutes.
Nah, 45
really?
minutes. Yeah, up to 45 is a short, and then if you
I always thought like something. Maybe I'm conditioned by like 80s films on VHS. I always thought like 80 minutes was the bare minimum to consider yourself a feature film.
So then, technically, Millennium Bugs is my first feature.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the industry standard is. So if I'm wrong, and by all means, correct me. But
no, it makes sense. I mean, also like the way that I filmed Monday it's so out of the ordinary having a camera being put on you while you're making the movie and only having a certain amount of time because you have to go do confessionals to camera and talk about the experience. It's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I wrote this one, I directed this one, and I shot it in Albuquerque, and we premiered at La Leaf in Los Angeles. We were able to go to Albuquerque as well to premiere. We sold out 8 of the 9 screenings. We went to New York. We went to Kevin Smith's Film Festival, which if you're an indie filmmaker, you have to submit to Smod Castle Film Festival. They're super supportive. They're coming. Kevin and the gang is really supportive of indie cinema, and I really think that people should give that festival a shot. And I know that it's starting, but it's starting with a bang, dude. So we were really excited to get such a cool response from people in different demographics because LA, Albuquerque, New York, Jersey, and then where was the other place? We screened somewhere else and I can't remember. So no, I'm very excited about this one for real. I think it's my most unpretentious and just fun film I've made.
What do you think, if there was any lesson you took from Millennium Bugs and that production that carried over into this one?
To be more patient on set.
Okay.
No. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, was there a lot of like by time constraints or something else in Millennium Bugs that you didn't have on this, or just a matter of zen?
I think it's more of, look, every set is going to be troublesome. Every set, there's always going to be a wrench or something like this, a big mason jar being thrown at you while you're trying to fix a big problem. And in time, a director learns how to, that's not that important. Give that 30 seconds, remind me. Let's tackle this. It gives you more of a zen ability to tackle problems and
priority
make them
triage.
The best possible.
Yeah. Exactly. I've had that experience before with people in my real life where it's like, okay, you got 5 complaints, 3 of them, there's nothing to be done about. Let's focus on the 2 that we can actually do something about.
Exactly. Also, again, going into the, I was very lucky to have a cast of people that have done big things that are that shine when they're on camera, like Matt Walsh from Veep. I got to work. He's in my movie, or Francisco Ramos, who's a stand-up comedian who does shows across the country. Alejandro de Hoyos, Chelsea Rendon, Natasha Leggero. I mean, Sonia Smith. You know what I mean? Like, Sonia Smith is an actress in Miami that has been doing telenovelas and movies for years and years and years, and especially in Latin America. So it was really cool to see one of my leads walk up, didn't know she was casted, and then she goes, "Oh yes, that's Sonia Smith." Like, he was so excited. He's like, dude, I've been following her career for 10 years. A mishmash, and what I learned in that is if you are casting these people, it's because you want them to be able to do what they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very upfront with all my actors. I'm always very high energy, but not necessarily that's a bad thing. I'm just, translating, moving, and then I have to show them to, like, hey, don't be if you have an idea, come up to me. I am approachable, even though it doesn't look like it, because I'm trying to fix some shit, but that's something that I need to work on to not be so that it intimidates people to come towards me.
Right.
So once that happens, you gotta let them do what they do, and then from there, give them notes. But yeah, you want to have the actor happy. This is why they're doing it, so let them play. So I told them, one shot, my way. We get notes, and then we have time. Third one is go free, baby. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, because some directors are like, stick to the script, write in the script, no improvisation, etc. And others are like, let's, one for me, one for you, one for the studio kind of thing.
I'll do that. I'd rather do that. Well, I mean, sometimes if it's a period piece, I understand where you can't improvise because then certain words maybe don't fit the dialogue.
Right? Yeah, they're anachronistic. Yeah. You don't.
But,
you got that's something that always draws me out immediately from a period piece or something when someone starts talking in lingo or in a temper that is completely out of place. It's just like, okay, you're not in LA in 2022. You're in the you're in the old West, and in a gunfight or something. Stop talking like you walked out of a video store or something. Stop it. I hate that stuff.
Hey guys, what's going on?
I don't know why this occurred to me. I've heard before that sometimes it's of a benefit in a script to remove punctuation. Like, you let the actor not take a cue from a comma as to where they're going to put an accent to something, but just let them. Has that ever been a thing you've ever heard of before? I don't know. I just want to pull that out of my trivia.
That's a great
box
idea.
For some reason. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing that people actually do, but it's like, yeah, just take punctuation out, because then you're telling the actor where they have to pause or how they have to say this line versus just letting them find an organic way to do it, unless it's very specific, I suppose. I don't know if that was like a known.
That, but that's a great idea.
Okay, I didn't know if that was like a known trick or something. I can't remember where I heard that before. Just remove punctuation.
I might try that on my next movie, just to be like, yo, this is what I wrote. How about you show me yours?
Yeah, okay. This is all things, like I said, I've never talked to like an actual movie director before, so I don't know if like everything that I think I know is just old hat or something that I just pulled out of some trivia box somewhere.
Pues, I'm a director and I didn't know that one, so that's you just
see this.
Check.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, okay, yeah, gotcha. Haha. See, I'm smarter than you. I'm just an English major with a silly YouTube channel. Haha, got one on you.
Hey man, that's a really good. That's a really good idea.
And I can't take credit for it, but I don't know who to attribute it to. I heard it somewhere else before, but let's see. Well, as I'm wont to do, being the absolutely professional interviewer that I am, I think I've run out of things to ask immediately that come to mind that I didn't already think of ahead of time. Is there anything that you wanted to expand, or anything I didn't touch upon that you'd like to talk about, or anything? Or
no, man, this is great. Question. I really, really enjoyed this. I hope that once I have a date for the Unexpected, I'd be able to send you a copy, because I would love to see what you think of the movie, because it's very different from this.
Oh, and then of course at the last second, Polly shows up. Hi, Polly.
Hey, Polly.
What? Just got here. What's up? Oh, nothing.
Yeah, you guys still here?
Yeah, it's like, hey, everybody, you still doing whatever you're doing? Also, some other hellos in here. Let's see. I kind of skipped over my usual format. The Alexander, hello. Angela Arriaga, hello. Brian Morissette, hello. Who else is here? The best Remy, hello. Mike Savage, blarg. Who else do we get? Datura Jones, hello. Robert Pincus, hello. Juliet, hello to you. Did I say hi to Mike R? If I didn't say to Mike R. Hey, Mike R, how's it going? Scanner Daffley, hello. Of course, Kiever Dam. And now Polly's here. And Carlos Alfredo Lopez, hello. Some of my regulars are in the chat here.
I think
What's
there.
that?
Can you go back a couple of chats? I think the guy we shot the house in is here.
What?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like there was one that said that shot in my old house or something.
Huh? Oh, the
In the
Scanner
in those.
Darkly.
Oh, I don't know. I just saw something that someone posted on one of those group chats said something shot in my house. I
Oh,
was gonna see
sorry.
if it was.
Hold on. Oh, my car. That movie was filmed in my old
I
hometown.
stopped. What
Which
movie is
movie?
that?
Which movie, my car? Which what we're talking about? If you're still
Albuquerque.
here, what movie? That could be an
Yeah,
Albuquerque.
that.
Also, Kay Scholl, hello. And I forgot to mention also I'm simulcasting on X for anybody that might be on X, or if you see it on X, you can share it out on X. Yeah, we talked about so many movies, it's hard to tell at this point. Oh, here we go. It'll come up here in a second because there's a lag between the one chat and the other chat. Come
That's cool.
on.
He responded.
There we go. A Place Beyond the Pines.
Oh, help! Classic, great film.
Yeah, great movie. Really great movie. And again, like one of those things where it's like, okay, it all depends. You can take the greatest actor in the world, but if you don't direct them, they're flying blind. I never understand these productions that seem to hire actors and just seem to like let them take over. It's like, no. They are the paints and you're the artist. You have to tell them where to go. They do their job if you know where to put them. If you just if you just splat them on the canvas, maybe you'll get a Jackson Pollock, but it's more of a dice roll at that point than anything else.
Yeah, yeah. That's a weird line to trapeze on.
I mean, you want to respect. I mean, if you have an experienced actor, you want to be able to respect the fact that this person knows what they're doing and everything else. But if you make too many assumptions about that, if you give too much control over, then you might not be getting the best that you could for the sake of the story and the script and the character. Then if you're intimidated by the fact that, oh well, I've got this actor. Like I hear stories about actors who get offended that they had to audition, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It's like you're like, well, I'm put your. I don't want to name anybody in particular. Like, I'm this person. I'm this stature. I shouldn't have to audition because obviously I've proven myself. Not for this role, you haven't. It's like I never understood that kind of that amount. I can understand a certain level of ego. I get it, but there's a certain point at which it's like you're in a new production. You're in a new project. Maybe you can get free lunches for the rest of your life on that one movie you did 20 years ago. But you're still a working actor. Last I checked.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
Maybe I'm just too much of a hard ass, but that just feels kind of silly to me. I like
mean,
actors who feel like they're still working out. Like Kevin Bacon would take any role, big, small, or otherwise, because every role is a new role. Or like Willem Dafoe, you'll find him in a billion different things because it's like he's an actor.
but I
He's
doubt
not a
William
star.
Dafoe or Kevin Bacon audition. I doubt it.
I don't know. Do you think now if you had an actor who got offended at the idea of auditioning, would you still consider that actor for a role? Whoever it was.
Yes,
Okay.
I would. Explain. I see what they're coming from. Like someone like William Dafoe is like, dude, I got 70 movies. Look at them. Like you'll know if I'm in it or not. You know if I'm. I get it. You know. I would be the next stage where I would be like, if he or she wouldn't want to come and rehearse, talk about the movie before production, then that's alarming. If they're like, you know what, I'm not gonna audition, let's go have that's cool with me because I've kind of learned how to audition the actor from talking to them at dinner. I'm looking at the mannerisms, how they respond, what gets them a little bit more energetic and stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's
Okay, so
everything impacts.
that's not an immediate red flag, but
Mhm.
it might indicate other. Do you think that would indicate other problems down the line? Then you like that that you get that one pass, but after that you're in the production and I'm the director and you're going to participate, or how many strikes do you give somebody before they're out?
Eek. Depends on the magnitude of how it could be different for many people. Like there have been people that
Yeah,
they on the first two that are late, it's like we gotta have a conversation. Look, the unexpected it was riddled with professionalism. Like
sure.
I really am happy with this movie in every aspect, from the people that I've complained about certain producers. I had nothing but the best of producers, and we haven't even released a couple of people that we've attached to as executive producers that are have been nothing but nurturing and
Mm-hmm.
want to support the movie by getting it out there, and they have a good fan base that they're like, hey, I could put my name and stamp my name in this project because it's good and tell my audience, and that makes me just feel good because it's people whose movies I consume. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's yeah, it's just, I guess the point of it was just, I try to keep it chill until it's needed to, like, okay, you give someone the hand and they try to take the arm. We don't want that.
So if and maybe this might be too big a question to try to wrap up on, but I'll try it anyway.
No, it's another hour here. No.
Yeah, if you had to sacrifice the freedom of independent filmmaking for the strictures of a studio film, do you think you could adjust? It's kind of an abstract,
Yes.
but okay.
I think I can, and then I would use what I learned to do my own shit.
Because
Because
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, 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 no. I like this. A lot of people don't like. Oh, you're interrupting. It's like that's a
Well,
conversation.
one of the things that we talked about, I've talked about with friends, I've talked about on Midnight's Edge with people, and like just as a big example, Marvel films over the last several years. Oftentimes, it really feels like, for the sake of not having to give over control to a name director, to not have to deal with someone else's either style or attitude or leverage or connections, Hollywood will hire effectively a stunt actor. The studio's already created the script, they've already figured out the shots. The director is just there, who's usually a hot and upcoming director that they can say is this hot and upcoming director that directed, these 4 music videos before we gave them $200 million to make a movie, because I'm not even quite even being that hyperbolic about it. There's been some Marvel studio films where, like, I can think of the Eternals. The director of the Eternals had one fairly well received independent film, and suddenly she's handed this $200 million monster. And it feels like you're going for not only someone who's quote unquote hot and up and coming, but also someone who has no leverage against the studio to just do your bidding and have their name on it. And so it seems like that's a trend that a lot of the big studios are doing lately, especially in the comic book movies and some of the other things, where, like, it's such a contrast to me from, I watch a big movie and I have no idea I've never heard of the director before. Whereas when I was growing up, if a big movie was coming out, it's Spielberg, it's Zemeckis, it's Coppola. It's, like, when a big movie's coming out, the director is as famous as probably the actors in there, or it's irrelevant.
Well, I mean, because those directors have proven themselves to have, like, their name be a commodity. If
right
now,
sure.
Montoya Marin, everyone's gonna be like, who the fuck is that?
Right. But the thing is that it feels like these studios end up like just using the actor. I'm sorry, turning the director into an actor, where they're acting like a director, but they're not actually directing the film. They're just sort of the proxy and cover, because of course if the movie goes sideways, oh well, it wasn't the executive's fault, it wasn't the studio's fault, the director's, and you're putting your own head on the chopping block for somebody else's potential disaster. Mm-hmm. I don't have a question for this so much. It just feels like almost like a catch-22, a Faustian bargain these days to work with studios, because you might just be throwing yourself into a meat grinder for a one-time shot that takes you nowhere. Like I said, that wasn't a question or anything. It's just something that we've talked about a lot with studios and directors you've never heard of before, kind of thing.
I mean, and to that, I mean, no, of course, it's a fear. It's a fear of control. But I mean, if you want to play with the big dogs, you got to be able to get dirty. You're gonna have to be able to stand your ground and know when to pick a fight, when to give them what they want, and I think that's just business, and they see it as a business when maybe we see it as the art form that molded our life and is continuing to mold our life, because we do have podcasts and we have tattoos that resemble film. And maybe to some people, that's the cult. It's really weird because you do need producers, but then everything is so gray. You do need, and then sometimes you don't need. And
Mhm.
that's not entirely the way it is. It can't be. And the best example, but you could say, yeah, because you're independent. Well, maybe when I get higher and I've proven myself, hopefully that would give me more liberty. But if I don't have to do a $200 million movie, I'll be okay, man. It's
Yeah,
a
but if
lot
you
of
get that pay,
stress
yeah, but if you get the paycheck for one, you're basically set for doing like,
for life.
yeah. And speaking of budgets, I never understand these budgets these days. I just like, man, you can make a good movie for $5 million if you just think about it.
100%.
And but yeah, and also this is something that always occurs to me. I'll sit there and I'll watch some 2.5, 3 hour movie or something, walk out of the theater and think to myself, with that exact amount of real estate of time, The Godfather told a much better story, much more efficiently, and I can't remember the name of the main character. I just walked out of the theater. It just amazes me
Yeah.
the capabilities of good writing, good directing, good acting that can create an entire universe in 3 hours, and another movie with the exact same running time just is forgotten 2 days later and makes no impact culturally or otherwise. I always find that interesting.
That's the goal, man. I think that's the goal for me as a filmmaker. I want to make movies that people remember, that they enjoy in the theater, and then that can go and tell a friend like, "Yo, you should check this out." And I hope the Unexpected is that. I hope Millennium Bugs was that to a degree when it came out and people discovered it. It's really cool when people bring it up and go, "Hey, I really like that movie." Oh, well, that's awesome. But like that's the goal as a filmmaker, to make something that stays in the audience mind, a piece of art, a movie, or something that just takes them out of regular life and has them have fun, get scared. I You have to be very conscious about your audience, man.
Hmm.
It's your audience, you want to give them a movie that they say, "Yo, that was worth my $15 or whatever."
Well, on that note, by the way, guys, again, there's a link to the Millennium Bugs over on Tubi in the description below. Also to Push Start Films, which is Alejandro's Twitter, well, X account. I keep saying Twitter. I'll get there eventually.
Yes.
So let people know where they can find you next, or you got the Unexpecteds. When do you think that'll be out, available to people to watch and all that good stuff?
Definitely, I hope by summer of this year. My name,
Okay.
that's my Instagram, Alejandro Montoya Marin, or Push Start Films on Instagram.
Mhm.
You're gonna be hearing from the movie very soon once we figure out when we can promote, when we can go film some of the assets for promotion. But yeah, we announce everything on social media. So if you want to check out some indie film, Alejandro Montoya Marin.
Okay, and I'll make sure to add a couple of those to the description after this posts.
Thank
And
you, sir.
I appreciate it. A couple of programming notes. First and foremost, guys, in about half an hour over on Midnight's Edge After Dark will be the Midnight's After Edge, or Midnight's After, Mr. Midnight's Edge After Dark show, where apparently the star of the new Captain America movie has just torpedoed his own movie. I thought we'd talk about that a
Oh
little bit.
man, I'm hoping that movie's good, dude. I know that
Oh,
there's
I'm
been a bunch
sorry.
of reshoots.
I hate to
wanna,
tell you, it's
damn
not going to be
it.
good. It's not going to be good.
Ah,
It really
that
isn't.
last trailer was baller. Like, I saw that trailer,
Uh,
and then the Ryan Coogler new movie looks so good.
oh, Sinners or The Sinners or something.
That
Yeah, the
looks
vampire
really
movie.
good.
That looks interesting. I mean, it's definitely a different compared to his last. I think his last couple of ones have been like Black Panther movies and Creed. But
Yeah.
I guess we'll see about that one.
Damn.
Also,
the,
guys,
the Captain
per
America
usual.
movie's not good. Sorry.
Oh, well, let's see. If I were in Magic 8 Ball, signs would point to no.
Damn it.
It looks like it's going to be a boondoggle, but who knows? I mean, stranger things have happened, but it's looking pretty poor, especially with
I
what
wish-
Anthony.
I wish they just didn't announce in the trailer that Harrison Ford was the Hulk, man. Keep that to like suspense so when the audience is watching it, they go, "Oh shit."
These days, nothing is kept secret forever. Not after social media. Nothing's
Oh,
secret
that
forever.
sucks.
Like the best movie secret I encountered in recent years, and I guess it's not that recent now, was Split being a sequel to Unbreakable, because you didn't know that to the last scene. They kept that secret. That was a nice surprise at the end. But other than that, if you pointedly avoid social media, you could probably unspoiler yourself from a lot of things. But when they put the Red Hulk on the poster, it's done, and it looks like Harrison Ford roided up. It's a done deal. There's not much else you should do.
He has little white hair too.
Yeah, like little white hair on the sides. Oh, jeez. Outside of that, everybody, of course, find me here Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for my series, TED Excellence, where I take a look at off-brand TED Talks for critical thinking and analysis, plus TEDx Bingo. And you never know what the subject's going to be, although it'll probably be something silly, because that's the best part. Alejandro, thank you so much for joining me for this interview. I hope I was a good interviewer, as I'm always self-conscious.
This was a lot of fun. Great questions. Sometimes I wish I could just be more to the point of my questions, but it's that you ask some really good ones, and it's not so simple to just.
No,
not everything has to be so. Exactly.
No, not everything has to be a straight line. Nope. And thanks again to Polly over at Latino Slant for setting this up. Hopefully we'll do another one in the future after the Unexpected's released, and we can
would love to get your opinion, homie.
All right, looking forward to it. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. For those of you that donated either to myself or to the Global Giving fundraiser for the wildfire victims, thank you guys so much for your generosity. And if you like this kind of thing, leave a like on the way out. Even if you don't like this kind of thing, I'll take the dislike, because interaction's great. I like it either way.
Thank you for joining, anyone that was here.
Yeah, anyone who's here, anybody who's watching in the future. And whether it's me or anybody else, if there's a content creator out there that you appreciate, let people know that you do. Share their stuff out. Let people know that you like it. And if you put it over on Twitter or X or something, be sure to tag that creator in it, because I know they'll appreciate you doing so. Because at the end of the day, especially for us smaller channels, you guys are the best algorithm. Alejandro, thank you again for joining me. Everybody have a good rest of your Tuesday. That's what day it is of the week is. And I'll see you in the next one. Alejandro, if you want to hang out for a minute, we'll chit-chat in the back. And
yes, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Yeah, take care, guys.